So we have a new blog post today. So let's read this and see what it's all about. Director's take. Look into the future of competitive Overwatch. Hello, everyone. We've seen a lot of conversations around competitive in Overwatch lately, and I'd like to take most of this week's director's take to address it. But first, let's have a quick hero update. I'm really curious on this because, like, I feel like since Season 1, comp has been, like, this huge discussion, so I'm really curious to see, like, kind of the response in general to where they're at with ranked, what they think. All right, we made several changes to Iari when she was enabled for ranked. Most notably, the healing for her pylon was reduced, and her ultimate projectile size was decreased while it no longer pierces barriers. The pylon nerfs effectively equalized the healing between her pylon and solar rifle. Pre-nerf, the healing pylon accounted for about 62% of her healing. Now that number is 55%. I mean, that's a good balance. You know, the pylon's 55%, the right click's 45%. This change also brings her more in line with other damage forward supports, whereas before, she was outputting healing numbers close to Lifeweaver and Mercy, which obviously is what they don't want, because if you're trying to make the hero be more like a Zen damage output and you end up doing healing output of like Lifeweaver and Mercy who have a ton of healing, you know what I mean? We're happy with those latest changes and the additional changes made to Captive Sun. We'll continue to monitor her damage output and see if anything needs addressing next season. Additionally, we're looking at Roadhog's underperformance and targeting his rework for the mid-season update in Season 7. Wait a second. Does that mean next season, not only are you getting the Sombra rework, but you're getting the Roadhog rework, right? So you're going to get 2 reworks next season. I mean, truthfully, it's not a bad idea during the... And I say that like it's not a bad idea to have Season 7 have 2 hero reworks and I imagine a new map? I actually don't know. We had Flashpoint. There's no new heroes. Maybe a new map? I don't know. Would there be a new map? Because they had 2 Flashpoint maps and didn't have a map the season before. So maybe a new map, but 2 reworks. So we'll see. Over the past few weeks, more people have been talking about competitive play. Conversations really started the trend following a video from SK, which was a really good video. Had a lot of input, and I really like that they're kind of pointing towards like where there's discussions happening, like these constructive discussions about comp. It's really cool to see them like link that video in there and be like, hey, listen, we've seen some of the points made in this video, and we're going to address some of them. I'd like to join in on the conversation. I agree with a lot of what has been said, and I want to share a glimpse into what the development team is thinking and the direction that we're likely to go with competitive in the future. The team has been working on changes to our competitive mode for some time, but moderate to major changes to the mode won't find their way into the game until sometime down the road. So the positive is it sounds like they're doing a major change, but on the other side of it, it sounds like that it's going to be a bit. So current ranked will still be very similar. But clearly there's a mindset and change to like they want to make a major change, which is good. I won't be able to address every issue that people are discussing in this piece, but I would like to address some of the major ones. We'll share more details on specifics as we get closer to releasing the changes. Okay. Some feedback we've heard about the current system is that you're not pleased with how much information about the match and your progress is hidden from you. Chat, what was the discussion we just had earlier and we talk about all the time on stream? All the time. There isn't enough information. We understand you want to know how the system works, especially regarding how your rating goes up, down, or even changes at all when you get a competitive update, along with trying to figure out how fair a match is at the start of a game. For instance, we've seen players go 5-2 and be demoted at their next competitive update. See, it happens. We were talking about it earlier. Many of the reports investigated so far have occurred due to MMR decay. For instance, if you typically pick DPS and go a significant amount of time between playing other roles, then MMR decay could kick in between updates for lesser played roles. Since decay is tracked per role, this could pull your rating down far enough to cause a demotion. When players see this happen, they would justifiably assume there was an issue with the system. Many of the changes that came with our Comp 2.0 update were based on values centered around pulling frustrating moments out of the experience, but came at the cost of obscuring other information, which has been like this. It's come down to a scenario where you don't get enough info in ranked, so like even though you're not getting, like, immediate feedback that's like, hey, you just lost that game, get rolled. Like, it still is frustrating because you're like, what? There's nothing here information-wise that I can really understand why I'm D-ranking, why I'm not climbing, or why I'm climbing, right? So, while they got rid of that part of it, they got rid of everything else. That doesn't tell you, like, anything to do with that, right? So, it's one of those situations where they clearly are starting to understand that, like, there needs to be more information when it comes to ranked because there just isn't any. It's very limited. So, it becomes this, like, frustrating, like, this, like, very frustrating experience when you play ranked. Because when you win, you still have to wait a while to figure out where you're going next in your rank. And then if you do have a good result and you D-rank, you have no idea why. Then if you have a good result and you don't climb that much, you also have no idea why. And then you just don't know what's going on in general because there's no information, right? So that's a lot of where we're seeing right now with this like blog post is they're addressing that quite a bit. Going forward, we're shifting our values to provide more transparency to the mode. This doesn't necessarily mean that the older skill rate and measurement is or isn't coming back. So we get a very interesting sentence here. This doesn't necessarily mean the older skill rate and measurements is or isn't coming back, which means that both sides of that are being discussed. Like, there's clearly something they're discussing here that they can't, like, confirm or deny if they want to go down that route, but it's definitely in discussion. As we continue to iterate on the possibilities, we very much appreciate your continued feedback. We want you to have a better understanding of what your true rank is and why wins and losses cause it to move up or down based on the general skill level of all players in a match. And that right there is what I love to hear, because this has been the problem with Overwatch 2 rank since the beginning. And I remember seeing it like in Season 1, I was like, listen, I like that we're making changes and doing stuff, but like there isn't enough info here. And this right here is exactly what people want to see. Additionally, we understand the way we track progress can cause losses to feel more frustrating. Currently, the system will provide a rank update after every 5 wins or 15 losses. After each win, progress is shown on a screen during the end of round flow, but losses are not. When the game doesn't acknowledge the loss, it can feel as though the whole match was a waste of time. We're making changes so that the system will contribute your progress toward a rank update after every match, whether you win or lose, so that no match feels like a complete waste of time. Which, I mean, basically what they're saying is more than likely just going to start showing you when you get a loss on your screen, which, truthfully, at that point, I get what they're trying to do with that. Basically, if you just don't have a game show up, you just kind of lose track of the games that you're playing unless you go into your history of that, so they'd rather have it show up like, hey, this is what's going on. It's not going to make it... You're not going to look at that and go, oh, I have 10 losses, but at least you just have something on your screen that's providing, like, information and feedback to you than just absolutely nothing at all. You know what I mean? We're also talking about the top 500 leaderboard and some of the unique issues for that experience. If you are in the top 500, you are among the most competitive players in the community. Oh, that's me. And we think there are additional needs and issues than the rest of the community. One example of a unique problem is the difficulty of climbing the top 500 leaderboard later in the season versus playing early in the season when it's easier to place higher. Well, that issue happens for pretty much a very consistent reason. You climb at the beginning of the season, you're comfortable with where your rank's at, you camp the leaderboard because there's absolutely no decay from week 1 all the way till the end of the season, and 2, people, once they're happy with that, they log in alt accounts. Plus, if you're at the higher part of top 500, your queue times also will increase more, so people are like, there's no point to... A lot of people will switch to alt accounts because they just leave, they want their account to be... Their account's rank 5, they really don't have to play. By the end of the season, they'll be rank 7 because the leaderboard, everybody does it. Like, after a while, like... Top 50 is just nobody's playing. They're on alt accounts because they want to just keep their account. And that's how the system is. That's why. If there was different ways or ways as to incentivize, that probably wouldn't happen as much. And like, to give you an idea, early seasons when they had the initial decay in place, we had to climb up a bunch of games. They actually, if you look at the leaderboard, it was like 600 games played, 400 games played, 300 games played. Then now recently it's like 25 games played, 50 games played, 75 games played, which is a lot of games, but like in top 500, like if that doesn't budge the leaderboard, that becomes a lot of the problem, right? So it's pretty scuffed with that one. They also have more issues with the queue times. Grouping with friends, I always say when you get the GM, you unlock duoing. And what I mean by that is when you hit GM, you cannot play with your friends anymore. You can only duo. That's it. You can no longer play with your friends. And finding fair matches when the spectrum of skill in this group can still be fairly substantial. So to give you an idea, a rank 2 player may have a significant difference in skill level than somebody who is GM2. And they're not bad, it's just there's a huge difference in like an OWL player playing ladder at like rank 2 than somebody who plays only ladder and is like GM2, GM1, right? There could be a huge difference there, which can also make games and queue times a little bit scuffed at that point, right? So that's what they're referencing here. It's just there could be a huge skill gap even if it's the same rank. We also believe that the top 500 experience is a more full-featured experience in how other players interact with competitive. Competing with and passing other players on the ladder makes the top 500 leaderboard exciting. Which is a fair point, but at a certain point in the leaderboard, you don't know how you pass the players because you don't know how many wins you need, and 2, people can camp at the top of the ladder and not have to worry about really competing for that at a certain point. Which, like I said, is fine. Like, a lot of players will do that because, I mean, at that point, it's why not? That's what the system in place is. It's not something that most players get to experience. Eventually, we'd love to find a way for players of other ranks to have an experience in climbing ranks, have an experience in climbing the ranks that feels more granular than just moving in and out of skill tiers. This is a long-term goal and is something we are just thinking about right now. At the moment they wrote that sentence, that's when they thought about it. But no, I think that's a cool idea. I actually like that idea. Basically, what that means is that you can climb. I mean, technically, you could have a leaderboard within your rank. So, like, if you're in Plat, you could technically have a Plat leaderboard, so you know as you're climbing through Plat. Kind of like that, actually. Because that gives you more of, like, it's going to be significantly different, right? And probably more players on there, but, like, it's going to be, like, it's cool to see that, right? It would be fun to see yourself on a leaderboard, even if, like, you're, like, in Plat, you get to at least see yourself climbing up through there. I think it's kind of a cool idea. Overwatch 2 is always evolving and growing. We'd like for it to be doing that in a way that is exciting for players and in a direction that they would like. One of the best ways to accomplish this is to have a healthy dialogue between players and developers. Some of these competitive changes will be made in the short term, like how we treat MMRDK, but other issues will be handled with broader changes coming early next year, which, believe it or not, chat, early next year is now less than 3 months away. Like, how about that? Less than 3 months away. No, it's not. It's September. Oh, wait, sorry. Less than 4 months away. Sorry. I'm going to be honest with you, chat. I started thinking about Season 7 in, like, October. No, yeah. September, yeah. Less than 4 months. Sorry, listen, I started thinking about Season 7. Less than 4 months away. Some of these, but other issues will be handled. Okay. Ultimately, we are aiming to make the system more transparent, add more frequent reporting, open up some of our restrictions for grouping at higher skill tiers. Wait, I get to play with my friends? We'll see. I don't know what that means. That might mean you can play with GM5, but still only can duo queue. You know what I mean? Or like play with like Masters 4 and only duo queue. I want to see what that means. I hope that means that we can group more and play with friends. We have a ton of fun with that. And look to introduce new competitive rewards. And that's an interesting one because the initial stance they had a long time ago was that they didn't want to have competitive rewards. But what's probably happening is probably, I don't know what the numbers are, but a lot of the player base plays competitive and a lot of the player base plays quick play. So they want to incentivize rewards across the board, right? So they want to give rewards, which I think is a good thing. I think that's good, right? Like right now, I'm sitting on like 12,000 competitive points. I can't get anything else until a new hero's out. And by then, I already stack up more. So let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for reading. I'll see you in game. Good blog post. I mean, overall, just to summarize, it sounds like they really want to change ranked. They understand that ranked has become an issue across the board. Not necessarily from like, there's obviously things that are working for it and things that aren't, but they're recognizing that it's become a frustrating experience for a lot of players. And rather than sit back and be like, no, it's fine. Like, no, you just give it time for the leaderboard to this and that. Like, they're like, yeah, listen, we're going to change a bunch of stuff early next year for like more of like the broader changes and like major changes. You'll get some more short-term changes, but like we want to change this. We understand it should be changed, and we'll be launching a better, more improved way for you to get feedback in ranked, which I think is one of the most frustrating parts of current ranked is that lack of feedback. So I definitely think that getting more feedback, getting more improvements across the board for ranked will make it a much more enjoyable experience, because right now the ranked experience is, if you're going 5-0, it's great, right? If you're not, then everything else there kind of like creates this really like lack of information that makes it difficult for you to have as much fun as you could with it. And obviously, I think the more they can make ranked a fun experience, and I say fun experience, listen, you know what I mean by that, right? I'm not saying it's going to be perfect every game, but to give you more feedback and more enjoyment out of when you do win a game, or to get more rewards to do all that, is definitely like a goal they have, and I hope that they can do, obviously, sooner than later, because I think the quicker they adjust their rank system, the more people will be excited to at least try it again and give it another shot, because right now it can be scuffed at times. So, anyway. That's the blog post. If you like this video, hit the like button. Sub to all the YouTube channels. We record these all live on stream. Stop by the stream. Hope you all have an amazing day/night.